politicians. Whereas most of us, if you're a Republican, you listen to Republicans. If you're a Democrat, you listen to Democrats. You read the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I listen to all of them. I read across the spectrum. I see where the differences are. And then I go to the raw facts, and I realize that Republicans leave things out, and Democrats leave things out. And Republicans want to suggest things, and Democrats want to suggest things. So I think both are trying to massage knowledge, and I think both are leaving things out and putting things in order to create a kind of knowledge. Both do it. If you're a Republican, you're happy when Republicans do it. If you're a Democrat, you're happy when Democrats do it. I'm not taking a position on it. What I'm sharing with you is, whenever you know something and you hear something, and someone says, this is happening, maybe it's happening, but maybe it's not. Maybe they left something out. Maybe they're mistaken. Maybe they're operating according to an ideology. Do what I do. Bureau of Justice Statistics, FBI statistics, national crime data statistics. Just go there and find out what you see. Now, they're not going to draw conclusions for you, so you got to do a little bit of your own algorithm to figure things out, right? But I want to move on from that, because if proportion to crime committed, number of police killings is roughly proportional, well, then what do? What's next? It's because of your ideology. People accept facts, so-called production of knowledge, that aligns with their ideology. It's a preset ideology. Until you come to a person like myself, and there are many like me, I began in one ideological place, never questioned it. Then I discovered that my cherished political leaders were not being honest. They were profoundly mistaken on a couple of things. And once I found one mistake, the whole thing cracked apart for me. So I went from being a very devoted person of one political party. I just happened to have been a very strong leftist Democrat. I caught my own party in one long pattern of deception. It broke my heart. It was like, I can't tell you how, I mean, because as much as I was a Jew, I was a Democrat way deeper than I was a Jew. When my party failed me, it was as if I was changing religions. It was as if I was changing religions. And therefore, I began to look at the people that I hated more fairly, because I was brought to hate Republicans. I mean, my father was a communist, right? So he could barely stand Democrats. Forget about Republicans, okay? So I grew up in this, very ideological agenda. So what happened to me, from about the mid-1990s up until now, is I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody not to be producing knowledge, at least the kind of knowledge that I like, which is theories based on facts, okay? Now, I'm not saying you should do this, but I want you to understand, if I say something that disturbs you, it's not because I'm trying to push an agenda, because what I believe should be done is either based on axioms or based on facts that I discovered as raw as I can get them from government websites. Okay? If you want to critique my conclusions, you're going to have to critique the facts and my theory. You're not just going to say it doesn't fit your ideology. Right, so let me actually take a next step. So what's going on? What's going on is, the evidence for me is there's incredible malaise, resentment, and disappointment in the black community. That's the clearest thing to me going on. There's a feeling, whether it's factual or not, and I think some degree of it is factual, because I don't think people can look beyond their racial lenses, and I think there are certain people that when they encounter people of the other race, blacks and whites and blacks, there's going to be a racial dimension. It just so happens more whites are in power than blacks. I've been in black neighborhoods. I can tell I'm a racially other. I grew up in a black neighborhood. I could really tell I'm a racially other. I don't have any illusions that blacks are any different from whites when it comes to treating people of another race. Okay? However, I know that people see things through a racial lens, and people in power will oftentimes operate according to the racial lens. That just seems obvious to me. That's number one. Number two, police have a specific problem. I went on the government website. Obama had commissioned a task force to look at the issue. And here's one of their conclusions. They said police need to see each other as guardians, not warriors. They said soldiers come in and occupy a country, and guardians protect. I said, you know what, as a former military man, that's offensive to me. It's offensive to me. Because when the Marines landed on Tarawa and Okinawa, they weren't coming there to occupy. They were coming to destroy one of the most rapacious, evil regimes that have ever existed on the face of the planet. So when they said, oh, we're occupiers, first of all, I was insulted. Okay? Secondly, if we call the cops here because there's someone outside with a gun, that's a warrior situation. So either say you're guardians or warriors. I get it. We want to feel guarded. But if there's someone outside with a gun, we want to find their warrior self because they're guarding us. So they're not exclusive. There's a lot of good stuff in the report. But the report had an overall attitude, which I think profoundly misunderstands policing. Now, they said the right things, but if you read the report, and I read it. Anybody here read it? Okay, you got to go and read this thing. You will have a strong opinion about policing in America? Read what the president produced. He hired a task force. They met for years, lots of committee meetings. They produced a document. It's on the internet. Go out and read it. See what you think about it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in it. But also I think it has a kind of an ideological bias.